everyone, so Flora here, and today I wanted to give you all a bit of an update on our rewilding an abandoned mining site project, which we've been working on since 2022 with Rewilding Portugal. And I was actually at the quarry a couple of days ago to show you our most recent interventions at the Blue Lake, but it was a bit too windy, so I couldn't chat to the camera without being interrupted by the wind. So today I just took some time and wanted to give you an overview on what we've been doing over there and what's happening. Some of you might remember that we were actually at the quarry back in spring with Claudia and Udo, who are two plant experts who we invited to conduct an aquatic plant survey. And we wanted to do this because aquatic plants actually serve as habitat for a whole bunch of wildlife, which goes from insects to amphibians to reptiles, and they also serve as really good bioindicators. So we went to the quarry, which is this diverse pondscape full of different types of water bodies, and we wanted to do this assessment to evaluate the ecosystem health. And if you haven't already, I recommend you head over to the main channel and you watch the previous video on this project where we show you the results of our last visit. And this goes from finding a plant that hadn't been seen in Portugal since 1942 to finding an aquatic carnivorous plant, which is really exciting. And we show you how much the quarry has changed in a positive way since we started our interventions in this area. And it's a beautiful transformation, and you really see just how much the landscape has changed from being a few ponds here and there to this entire live and vivid ecosystem, wetland ecosystem, and it's just beautiful and booming with life. Today, however, I wanted to talk to you about the Blue Lake and our intentions of rewilding it. And if you've been following the project for a while, you probably know that this lake in particular has been a bit of a question mark and a mystery to us because it looks so strange. It has a very distinctive bluish white color, very different to any other water body in Toirões. It also has these very steep banks, which are of course a result of the mining activity that happened there many years ago. And it's just a very mysterious place. We never knew what was living in there. We never knew how deep the lake was, and so we decided to bring a team of divers and take an ROV last time we were there in spring, explore it and find out what was living under the surface. And to our surprise, the lake was actually very shallow. So the deepest part was 2.4 meters and there was no vegetation in there at all, or little vegetation, just a bit of macroalgae, and the only inhabitant we found was the invasive Louisiana crayfish. So, despite of its size, the Blue Lake clearly seems to be struggling to support a healthy and thriving ecosystem. And the steep banks it has, which don't allow for vegetation to grow and also make it a very hard access for wildlife generally speaking, and the presence of this invasive Louisiana crayfish seem to be holding it back and seem to be keeping it at an early stage of ecological succession. So, when comparing this lake to other bodies of water in the quarry, it just seems like a sad little desert. There's really little to no vegetation growing there and very few opportunities for wildlife to come in. So this is what we've been up to, and this is what we're planning. We want to change this, and we want to give the Blue Lake a new chance to become a thriving and healthy ecosystem. Just like on the other side of the property at Toirões, where we did a few earth movements, we blocked some ditches, and we basically helped the landscape retain a bit more water to support more wildlife. Here at the Blue Lake, that's also what we wanted to do. We thought it just needs a little push and a little help to be able to live to its full potential, so to say. And the idea behind our interventions is actually quite simple. By soothing over the very steep banks it has and creating a sort of gradient, we will allow for the riparian vegetation to come in and start growing there, like cattails and rushes. And this will create more habitat for insects and amphibians. And it will also serve as a nesting ground for some birds, and they will also eat these insects. So we're kind of wanting to call more biodiversity into the lake, to use the lake. One of the margins of the lake, it already actually has this kind of riparian vegetation, and we see that birds use it. And when I was there a couple of days ago, I actually had the pleasure of seeing a white heron, and it just landed there and it disappeared behind the rushes. And it was a beautiful and incredible sight. And you know, we saw so many cormorants, and despite of the machines working there, they were actually, they were still coming in and using the lake. And to me, actually, the best sight that day was seeing the western marsh harrier, which is one of the species we're trying to attract to this area in the hopes that it comes and stays and nests. And it was just incredible to see that it was there, but we need to give it more space. We need to give it the lake. We also hope that by soothing the banks and, you know, removing these very steep banks, we are destroying the preferred habitat of the invasive Louisiana crayfish, as they actually like to create their burrows in these very steep walls. And so, by knocking them down, we hopefully also put in additional pressure on the species. And another thing is that by attracting more birds to the area, which hopefully will feed on the crayfish because it does serve as a great food source for many species, we hope that this puts another pressure on this invasive species, and hopefully it will also reduce their number in the lake. Another of our goal for the Blue Lake is actually to create an artificial island. And I'd have to say that this is the trickier part of our plan, because creating an island is not really an easy task.
So because we have all of this excess of dirt that was piled up on the bank of the Blue Lake, we thought it would be interesting to create an island in the middle with all this excess soil. So the plan is to expand that area there, and at the tip we're going to increase it a bit more, give it a bit more of a round shape. And after that is done, then all the dirt, all the soil that is making the connection now will be removed further back, and it will be used to soften that part of the bank there as well. So in the end we'll have an island there in the middle, fairly big, and it will be distance from the mainland at least 20 meters. So that distance should make it enough so that many birds will feel safe nesting there, away from the predators.
As you can probably tell, things are looking a bit chaotic at the quarry at the moment, at the Blue Lake. There's earth everywhere, there's machines working, and it's very, very loud. So it's not looking great. But we hope that in a month or so, Rewilding Portugal will be done with doing these earth movements. And after that, we just have to wait and let nature do its thing once more, because that's what rewilding is all about. And hopefully, when we go back to the lake in spring or summer next year, we'll have reed banks established, and we'll have more birds using the lake and nesting and feeding there. And who knows, maybe we'll even have a population of European pond turtles, which is a near-threatened species, which we've seen around the quarry a few times. So we're just hoping that by boosting the Blue Lake, we can have all these incredible species move in. So this is our plan, and we're really excited to see how the Blue Lake changes over the next year or so. And we hope that by doing all this, we boost wildlife in this specific lake, and we just give nature a bit more space to thrive. And that's just really, really exciting. And I hope you enjoyed watching this video update. And if you'd like to learn more about the project, you can still head over to the project page, and you can read the full management plan, where you can get into the nitty-gritty of the whole thing. But for now, this is all. I still have to thank you for having watched this, and our Mossy Earth members for making all of this possible and supporting this kind of work. And if you're not yet a member, but you enjoyed watching this and enjoyed the project, I recommend you head over to mossy.earth and become one. Cheers, and see you next time.